The Montreal Canadiens are one win away from the Stanley Cup Final. Game 6 against the Vegas Golden Knights gets going tonight. That's Aaron Ward and Shane Kelly. I'm David Pagnotta. Our coverage brought to you by Bitbuy, Canada's #1 cryptocurrency platform. And gentlemen, Wardo, let's start with you and the Montreal Canadiens. As I mentioned, one win away from going back to the Stanley Cup Final for the first time since 1993.
This is all psychology for the Montreal Canadiens. They have to match the mentality of the Vegas Golden Knights. This is their Game 7 for Vegas, but Montreal has to step away from the idea that they can have a mistake, they can have a hiccup. They've got to match it in terms of preparing for the first 10 minutes Vegas brings is going to be a storm, and realize this is what's about to be presented to them. And they also have to maintain that road mentality. Coming home to Montreal, playing in front of, I think, 3,500 fans, you have to step away from the idea you have to put on a show. Just be who you are. Right? The D have to be solid. Carey Price has to be Carey Price. The young guys up front have to be who they are. And the leadership has to come from the Perrys and the Stalls and the Armias. Even though they're the fourth line, they have to do all the same things that they have done to be successful and resist the urge to change anything about their performance.
Yeah, for Montreal, I think the key is going to be to keep relying on the big four. They all played at least 50 minutes a night at 5-on-5 last game. Merrill and Gustafsson barely played at all at 5-on-5. I mean, this is basically now a four-man decor for them. And Carey Price, I mean, he was, again, immense in the last game. Expected goals were over 2. He only let in a single goal. I think for the series, he's probably saved about 8 more goals than the average goalie would. So, keep riding those guys, and this should finish in 6.
I think for Vegas, the perspective has to be they have to figure out something about special teams. Not only trying to manufacture something, but not letting it hurt you. The idea that you're getting scored on power plays is killer, but relax, figure out some different approach, have your video coaches, your coaching staff, whatever, start to look at how Montreal is so effectively basically killing off 2 minutes with ease and do something different. Whether it's moving Pietrangelo around and making the team focus on where he's at, but something constructive has to come from the opportunities that are rarely given in the playoffs with penalties for Vegas to capitalize on the road. That's the difficulty. This team, whether or not they can figure out what to do on 5-on-5, because they're getting these matchups, hopefully when one of the guys is removed from the ice, Vegas finds some advantage. It has not come to fruition for them that anything beneficial has come from special teams.
Yeah, Vegas's forwards, to me, have been something that we haven't talked about enough in this series. They've been atrocious. They've won the possession battle a lot, but what that's led to is a lot of shots from outside the slot. Montreal's dominating in the slot shot category in this series. And I also don't understand the move to drop Leonard for Fleury in the last game. Fleury hasn't been good this whole series. And again, last night, expected goals were 1.5, give or take, and he ended up letting in 3 goals. That's been the story the whole series. So they're going back to Leonard now, but to me, it's a game too late.
Funny too, you hope that Lehner has some motivation other than watching Twitter for 2 hours before the game, showing up early to read it. I think the fact that he has an opportunity to really save this franchise right now in this playoff series should be motivation enough for him.
Yeah, in addition to Leonard coming back in by the looks of things, there was a little bit of controversy at practice this morning when Alex Tuch left practice early and Ryan Reeves was taking a slot on the third line, but Pete DeBoer saying, don't worry, he's fine. So we anticipate Tuch being in the lineup tonight. Going back to the Montreal Canadiens, Wardo, speaking of their forwards, Nick Suzuki has been playing tremendous for a 21-year-old. Cole Caulfield, 20, also doing great, or 19, 20, whatever he is. Kakanyemi as well. These guys are certainly the future of the Canadiens, but they seem to be taking an impressive role with the club throughout this run.
It's what happens in the playoffs, right? While we always talk about bringing people into teams at trade deadlines that have the pedigree of Stanley Cup championships or being in the Stanley Cup, well, this playoff experience for them is invaluable. The idea that Cole Caulfield, coming out of college, has now stepped in and found himself not in a place of just belonging. He's contributing on a level where now Vegas has to account for him. This will pay dividends down the road for Montreal. They're getting a foundation now. They're young guys experiencing and understanding not just what the game's like, but the type of focus they have to have, the distractions away from the rink that come with the playoffs, the level of kind of investment you have to have in yourself coming into each game because it is an absolute marathon, and the level of attrition across the board, it can hurt your team. So these guys, the young guys are inspiring the older guys, and I would say the older guys are inspiring the younger guys in terms of teaching them also how to play from a tactical end. So overall, we have a meshing of all these ages for Montreal that are doing well for themselves because they're understanding what the identity of the Montreal Canadiens is and what they have to do to contribute from their perspective to make this a successful run?
Yeah, to me, if the Canadians end up going all the way, Carey Price is obviously the conn smythe, but right behind him is Nick Suzuki. He's been incredible. He's played something like 25 minutes against Mark Stone's lines in this series, and he's dominated the expected goals battle. He's up over 55%, which is just unheard of when somebody's playing against Mark Stone. He's one of the best forwards in the league, or he has been up until right now. So for a 21-year-old to be that defensively responsible, pitch in with 21 points as well, and be asked to play a 200-foot game is wild.
There's going to be a big comparison. There's going to be a big comparison because I played with a guy, and Suzuki's age is nowhere near it, but he reminds me of Steve Yzerman in the way he's playing right now. Yzerman's success and the Detroit Red Wings' success was directly tied when he decided to become a more complete player. Not that Steve wasn't a complete player, but he had more of an investment from a inspirational presence level for the Detroit Red Wings. Suzuki, for me, as you watch him block these shots, as he's consistently coming back and reading the play because his two line mates are out and he's going to the right position, and as you mentioned, point production also coming. That says a lot about the completeness of a player. So I think you're seeing a guy emerge, and you're right. He's got to be at least mentioned in the value to his team if this team continues to go like they are.
Yeah, if Suzuki emerges and continues to grow and get closer to that Steve Yzerman status, I think Hab fans will be pretty darn excited if they can have that caliber of a player playing with them for a long time. We'll see if Suzuki and the rest of the Canadians can step up and close things out tonight, or if Vegas can get back on track and force a Game 7 Saturday night. That's Aaron Ward and Shane Kelly. I'm David Pagnotta.